Welcome back. Last week on the show, we talked about pay for lawmakers in Oregon, which some argue is just too low. That includes 3 state reps who say they're not going to run for re-election in the fall because they can't make ends meet with that salary. Karin Power from Milwaukee, Rachel Prusak from West Lynn, and Anna Williams of Hood River made that decision after a bill that would have raised lawmaker pay failed to pass. Here's what Representative Power told us last week.
Between bills, student loans, and 2 kids in daycare, I've never been able to stop working for my second job during session. So I dropped to part-time during session for my second job, which means that I work all the time. It places an enormous caregiving burden on my wife and my in-laws because I will turn around and continue working for my primary job through the weekend to catch up. We can't make ends meet on the legislative salary alone. That wouldn't be financially feasible for us. And so it became increasingly clear that this public service wasn't sustainable for my family.
So just how low is the pay? Well, lawmakers get a salary of less than $33,000 a year in Oregon. But on top of that, they do get a per diem of $151 a day during sessions, which is an allowance to pay for food and living expenses. The theory behind that is that most lawmakers don't live in Salem, so they have to travel there and often will rent a place to stay. If we add their salary to their per diem, here's their total earnings. During the 160-day regular session, which happens every other year, they make a total of $57,000. That's close to the average salary for Oregon workers. But during the 35-day short sessions, they only make about $38,000. Now, after our segment aired, we got this question from Barb. She wrote, "Just curious if Oregon is an outlier or do other states pay their legislators similarly?" Well, we don't have a simple answer for you because states pay their lawmakers a range of different amounts if you combine their yearly salaries and their daily allowances. But we do have the answers for you. Let's start with Oregon's neighbor, Washington. Lawmakers there are paid between $64,000 and $69,000 a year, depending on the session length. California pays its lawmakers higher than any other state. They make 6 figures, more than $165,000 a year. On the other end of the spectrum, lawmakers in Wyoming make between $5,000 and $10,000 a year, depending on that session length. That brings us to David's question. He wrote, "In addition to pay in other states, could you factor in Oregon's schedule? You'd get a better comparison if you include states that have the same full session, short session schedule, if there are any." Great point, David. Lawmakers in some states are considered full-time because their sessions run most of the year, so they're paid higher. Those are the green states that you see there on that map from the National Conference of State Legislators. And yes, California lawmakers work full-time, so that's why they get the big bucks. In other states, lawmakers are considered part-time. Those are the yellow and orange states there on the map. Their sessions typically last just a month or 2, so they get paid less. Then there's the hybrid legislatures, which are gray on the map. Those are states with regular and short sessions, just like Oregon and Washington. The National Conference of State Legislatures says lawmakers in these states typically say that they spend more than 2/3 of a full-time job being lawmakers. So that's a reason Oregon lawmakers want higher pay, because their jobs are more extensive than just part-time. And that makes it hard, they say, to devote enough time to a second job to make ends meet.